This is Jason Reed Pratt, author of Cry of Justice. Have you ever wanted to see the Polish on the verge of defeating their invasion by the Nazis in World War II, while the Nazis are on the verge of defeating them, except probably not yet? Me too! Fortunately, I'm about to start turn 5 of my multiplayer game of Decisive campaigns, the Blitzkrieg from Warsaw to Paris, versus Barthheart from the Grogheads Forum, where some parts of my front are going great, while on other parts, Bart is progressively vaporizing, 4 or 5 whole cores by now. Which is good, because I'm the one playing the Nazis. You can largely credit the Polish cavalry for this, which we'll soon see as I start Turn 5, September 9th, 1939. Oh, that does not bode well. Rainy weather means I'll have trouble spotting left and right of my recon flights, and probably less effect on my bombing. Okay, I have really got to look up the rules for victory points, because I can't possibly have captured only 5 large cities by now. But according to this, I've only picked up 5 points from 19 to 24. Checking the rules. No, it doesn't specify whether I have to park a unit in a hex for a full turn to get the point or not. Under the circumstances, I'm going to guess that I have to park a unit there at the end of the turn to get the point, in which case, since there's no way to tell on the map if a city is captured yet or not, I'll have to detail a bunch of fast-moving troops to run around in my backfield, camping progressively in various orange dot cities for a turn just to be safe. Unfortunately, I didn't think about this until I was writing notes for turn 5, so that'll have to wait on turn 6, if I remember it. My losses have slowed down, I see, which tells me my endangered corps must not have completely disintegrated yet. I expect that percentage to jump soon unless I can rescue them. Polish losses, on the other hand, have jumped quite a bit. I would still need 17 turns to clean the map at this rate, which I won't get, but I don't have to destroy them all to win. I do have to get those victory points. With that, we'll start the Doom report with a quick overview of what Barth did during his turn, and then the Doom scroll clockwise around the map as usual to see our starting positions. Lithuanians, get those echoes going over the border.
Ой, шармукшня, курту ауги тарбалю. Хей, ай-яй-я, курту ауги тарбалю. Курту ауги тарбалю, тарпшу жалю саману. Хей, ай-яй-я, тарпшу жалю саману. Ой, матуши, камту мани аугинай. Хей, ай-яй-я, камту мани аугинай. Эй, ай-яй-яй, ирин войско ужращей, ирин войско ужращей, иртрес трубас нукалей. Эй, ай-яй-яй, иртрес трубас нукалей. Ирма трюба трюбиё, ишкемелё ишьёдамс. Эй, ай-яй-яй, ишкемелё ишьёдамс. Антра трюба трюбиё, перед шлеймою дамас. Эй, ай-яй-яй, перед шлеймою дамас. Пряча трюба трюбиё, превой скялё пристояс. Эй, ай-яй-яй, превой скялё пристояс. Манжиригяли сужвинго, веса свойска сужуро. Эй, ай-яй-яй, веса свойска сужуро. Ир сужуру, кармене иманя. Эй, ай-яй-яй, кармене иманя. Ира день жуведу полк снарсую. Эй, ай-яй-яй, жуведу полк снарсую. Киян плачу сустоюм, жуведу сишка боюм. Эй, ай-яй-яй, жуведу сишка боюм. сукатку слабий друг, стік розбуло королюк. Ай-яй-я, стік розбуло королюк.
And here we are in East Prussia, with an unrelenting wave of Polish defenders counterattacking into our faces, and more importantly, getting behind us to cut off our supplies. Let us embrace the horror, shall we? Here at the line between the lakes, the 206th Reserve Infantry Division has been cut half off by those winged hussars and their 40-to-1 odds. The artillery battery and the 1st Brigade will not be able to escape. Things aren't much better for Vodrig's whole corps a bit farther south. They may have more troops to defend with, but they are still completely pocketed, Barth having pushed that supply door closed again on his turn. The only immediate hope of respite, if not rescue, for 206th are their fellow reserve division of Brand's group, the Lotson Infantry. And things could be better for them too. For one thing, while Barth's hidden cavalry up there might be out of supply, it's still sitting on a road line preventing any supply from getting down to us by that route, which is starting to take a toll on my troops. For another, I can't quite get far enough around the enemy brigades to cut them off from supply when they retreat from my hits. So while I'm punching them back, I'm not removing them from being a threat. Up till now. The Königsberg Guard Division has almost arrived at Brand's group, which needs the troops more for now than Vodrig's corps, except for the 2nd Brigade, which started way back at Elbing. I debate pretty hard about sending it down south instead to help aid Vodrig, but, perhaps wrongly, I narrowly decide eventually to keep it hiking along to team up with its fellow division. Most of the division arrives at Lotson, and the lead brigade is able to march down the road a bit farther. They can't help this turn, but may be able to help next turn. I don't dare leave the 3rd Brigade of 206th to be trapped on that line, so I pull it back the one step I can, effectively choosing to sacrifice 2 chips instead of 3. A bitter choice. The 2nd Brigade, now staggering out of supply, hikes over to the road to help guard that from a probable farther push by Barth. Maybe it'll be back in proper supply next turn. I know the Germans didn't have brigades per se. They had Kampf groups or maybe really large regiments or battalions. Things tended to vary. But for consistency's sake, I'm calling the subgroups of a division brigades unless the text tells me otherwise. I do my best to reinforce and defend the key road to resupplying Vodrig's corps by parking more of the 217th on it again and telling them they had better not dang retreat this time. On the other hand, everyone else in the pocket had better retreat pronto if they get a chance, ideally back up the road line. Back up to Brand and the Lotson Division, I managed with the help of a bunch of stupid dive bombers to eliminate that 2nd Brigade of Barth's 33rd Infantry Division. Depending on how Barth moves next turn, I'll see if I can do the same with that next brigade down the line. Will it be in time to help the 206th? Probably not, but anything I can remove from the board is better than nothing. Over to the Mloa forts. I don't dare move these blocking brigades, either to advance or to back up away from the occasionally artillery strike they're enduring. They're the only thing keeping Barth from surging north out of the forts and wiping my whole East Prussian effort off the map. This does raise the question of what I can do and ought to do with their fellow corps members over here to the west, near the Drek River. I realize it's not really Drek, but I'm calling it Drek. But I realize that until I remove these advancers nearby, I can't securely advance south and perhaps east to help save my eastern corps, even though air recon, keeping rain in mind, suggests the route is otherwise open to the south. So I spend this turn cleaning up in the backfield. Although before I deal with this reserve chip, I have to decide what troops I can spare to help encircle it from my advance on Thorn. Much to my surprise, Thorn itself seems evacuated, which I quickly take advantage of. Before shifting over fully to the northern side of my western front, I work on cleaning up remaining pockets of problems in the Polish port corridor. Being still something like an absolute newbie, I don't realize that I have to park an engineer for a turn near a broken bridge so that they can start preparing to fix it. That's a wasted turn for them as I move them away. Up at Gdynia, good grief, they're breeding! Now there's a third chip, which Barth has surged out of the city to mess with the supply of the city's besiegers. I'll have to do something about this later, hopefully sooner than later, and I detail the 10th Panzer Division as well as some other fast units to deal with this problem. I do root out part of the remaining 27th Polish Division, and prepare to finish the rest of it next turn. Notably, he hasn't been able to attack my security trains in Elbing, so that's probably safe until I can get up there to clean those cavalry out. In fact, I could probably send the trains back down the track somewhere, but I don't quite trust that those cavalry won't be able to move into the city after all. No great strategic thoughts over here as my western corps start to converge with each other around Barth's defenders. I'll let some lamenting music play a while. The newly arrived 302nd Division I was originally going to entrain over to help reduce Panzan, but I decided instead to march them south around the Abra River to clear out that pocket of Polish territory over the next few turns. I don't think anyone's hiding there, but I've learned that it pays to be sure. And I'm also learning it pays to secure the road and rail lines even if no Polish troops are really there. As I loop around to the northern part of my southwestern front, yeesh, that's a Providence trail. I don't realize until later in the turn that I may be setting myself up for disaster by using my 8th Army and 10th Corps headquarters, the 10th Corps is probably okay though, as scouting troops. Not because they're likely to get ambushed and annihilated, but because the supply for this whole area of the battle flows through the 8th Army, or it's supposed to. Mental note for next time, so roll the 8th Army HQ back south onto a rail network. I also somewhat dumbly decide to send this group farther south to head off and deal with whatever unit Barth is sneaking in that pocket. Not that I don't have to backtrack now to fix this problem, because I do, but those troops are going to get out of supply from their 8th Army headquarters. This is another reason why I need to send 8th Army headquarters back south again. Here in the southwest quarter, as I slowly stumble toward Krakow, I have badly got to retake control of my supply routes, or this will be even more of a disaster than it's already shaping up to be. Also, I'm going to try a gamble of sending a probing force around behind them with troops left in front to act as blocking, not assaulting forces. This area east of Ostrava, however, who knows if I'll ever get to recover from bungling this approach. That infantry from Zakopane has dug in, and I can't get around it through the mountains. Even 200 level bombers won't be enough to dislodge it, nor a frontal assault by my few fast movers I could gather to block its advance into my rear. Trying to open a supply line to rescue the 22nd Corps looks increasingly dubious. I've already lost 2 whole brigades to supply problems. And it's made worse by my emergency throw of 14th Army and 17th Corps headquarters to try to blunt that counter-blitzing infantry. Now 17th Corps is suffering from supply problems too. And there are no nearby engineers anymore to help fix the bridges to improve supply. It's just a total mess. Moreover, I don't understand why the Slovakian Army and the 18th Corps are bogging down on supply. But as things are, they can't move or do much of anything useful. I suspect now that instead of pushing that 1st Brigade of the 2nd Panzer Division onward, past the river, up the road, I should have pulled it back across the bridge while I still had supply for it. Ugh. This ends turn 5, and I suspect next turn I'm going to have to risk whether that Zakopane infantry I blocked has no more supplies to move, as I try to get my rapid response force back around in time to open up the bridge and let more supply in for my headquarters to distribute. Note that when Barth got that chip into and past Trapow, whatever that chip is, he also cut off any chance of me getting supplies from Frankfurt into the south the longer way around. That was a great move by him, and a suicidally dumb move by me. Finishing the Doom Scroll, let's look at the stats. Last turn my casualties jumped up by over 36%, and that's super worrisome even though, as previously noted, I've lost less than 5% total so far. Not as worrisome as Bart's 76% casualty jump, but he knew he'd be losing lots of troops eventually. He's held off portions of the battlefield very well so far, and my nearly 4-to-1 kill ratio last turn, as bad as that is for him, could have been a lot worse by now. He has to be feeling really great about my south and northeast sectors right now, which he may soon be able to crumble, and which if he does, he'll be able to seriously threaten my whole drive toward Warsaw. And it's now Bart's turn of doom. Doom, 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 doom. Amen, 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 amen.